Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Blair Johnson welcoming you to another episode of the Badass Records podcast. I am super excited to share with you that this week's guest is none other than Tracy Hoth, life coach and professional organizer, whose fine work you can find at simplysquaredaway.com, as well as the Organized Coach podcast, which is available on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. You can follow her on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And I'm really excited for you all to check out our conversation. New episodes of this thing air Thursdays. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you stream/download your music and podcasts. You can keep your finger on the pulse of Badass Records via Instagram or Twitter. Appreciate you stopping by as always. Hope you enjoy the show. I think this will wind up being episode 144 of Badass Records podcast. My numbers are a little jumbled at the moment, but nevertheless, thank you so much for being here. Tracy Hoth, simplysquaredaway.com, Instagram, Facebook, life coach, professional organizer, plus the Organized Coach podcast.
Yes.
16 years of professional organizing experience, which you call the practical, plus science-based life coach. I can't read my own writing. The portion you call the mindset, to give straightforward, actionable steps to help you streamline operations and grow your business.
Yes.
The podcast is on Apple, Spotify, Amazon. Looks like you're 65 episodes deep.
Yes.
A lot of which feature a guest, and you're dropping weekly. So yep. You're past the year mark. Mm-hmm. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks.
Somebody many episodes ago asked me if I knew how long the average podcast survives.
Ooh.
Do you know?
No.
It's like 6.
What? 6?
Yeah. If you think about, from the most popular and long stand all the way down to everybody that just tries it for a minute.
Yeah.
Well,
we are killing it then.
We are killing it. So our paths crossed, you said 2015
in the fall.
Gosh, right at 10 years ago. And I remember I shopped it more than I do most things, meaning I looked at like at least 2 other gals.
Yeah. Well, I had in my notes that Dan B referred you. I don't know who Dan B is, but maybe he's another client. I need to go look it up. But
I don't know who that is either.
Yeah.
I just know that, I just internet search and came across 3, and for whatever reason, yours was the most appealing.
Okay.
So I don't know who that is.
I know. I'm going to have to go research a little more.
Huh. But we did, so I remember, the other 2 gals, as well as you, everybody sort of had a tiered approach. Yeah, and it's kind of like there's some incentive to buy a larger one because then it's like less by the hour, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so we went with that, and I know that we had a couple or 3 target areas, but we started like basically right here, you and I, for probably 3 hours.
We might have done 5
because
I think you purchased a 10-hour package.
Okay.
And I came twice. And so,
okay.
Or maybe 4. And then we did the other space the other day, 6. I don't know.
Well, I know that the basement and the garage were priorities. And if maybe there was some kind of like living room, family room, dining room combo if there's time left to burn.
Right.
But so you and I hammered out some hours, and then let's circle back and figure out what the next tier is going to look like. And then you and your family
Yeah.
the
God.
craziest, like I remember reading probably a text or something and being like, what?
Yeah.
Is
My
th-
son was in a car accident.
Yeah.
And so we were out of commission for probably 9 months because we were in Colorado at a rehab hospital for 6 months. And then when I came back, I was just ready to be with the rest of my family,
Yeah.
my other kids that had been here by themselves with my husband the whole time. And so I didn't go back to work. But you were right in the middle of it because
Yeah.
our first appointment was in December of 2015. And then we worked together again. Maybe it was October of that was 2015. So of 2016.
Wow. Now, what I remember, your oldest, who had
My
just
second.
had just started driving.
No.
No.
Well, he was 15. He was in the back seat of a car.
Okay.
And they were going way too fast, and they got in an accident. The other two in the front, they all had their seatbelts on. There were no drugs and alcohol, which is a good thing, but he was in the back, and he must have hit his head, and he was still buckled, and it just broke his C5, C6 vertebrae.
Oh.
And he was paralyzed from, they needed help getting him out of the car. They had to cut him out of the car, and then it was a lot of rehab after that.
And you had to go to Colorado, right? Mm-hmm. Because there weren't facilities.
Well, we were here at Children's Mercy. They took us there. We could have stayed there for rehab, but a lot of times once you're out of ICU, you have to make a decision about where you want to do rehab. And just through lots of different people telling us this is the hospital you need to go to, we chose to go to Craig Hospital in Colorado. It specializes in spinal cord injury. We had so many referrals. One of my friends knew the doctor that worked there, so he actually called me on the phone, and we talked the night we made the decision, and it just was really amazing.
Wow.
Anybody have a spinal cord or brain injury? Choose to go to Craig Hospital. There's another one like it in Atlanta.
Okay.
But those are the two really good hospitals.
Well, I don't remember if you created a
Facebook page.
Okay, because
yes.
I definitely, like, he had to learn how to do.
He learned everything. And you don't know if anything's going to come back. So he's fully unable to move. And when we got to Craig, actually we saw some movement in his leg. So that was about 2.5 weeks in. And we saw a movement. So that was a really good sign. And he still, will not be able to run. He, has a different gait because his feet don't work
today.
Right. Yeah, today.
Okay.
Yeah, but he can walk.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. But yes, I posted every single day on his Facebook page for 6 months.
Well, I remember a device that was maybe lowering him and bringing him in and out of water.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a thing where he was like
robotic stuff,
yes,
hooked up. He did everything.
And I was seeing it,
Yeah.
and then I didn't see it anymore. And then all of a sudden one day Anna was like, Tracy reached out, and I was like, what? Their life is like
back.
I mean, I was like blown away thinking like, I mean, obviously I'd seen some of the progress online,
right.
but just to return to some kind of normalcy was.
I know. We didn't have to change our house because all our bedrooms are upstairs. We don't have any on the main level. So we didn't have to do anything with that. He can go up and downstairs. And he went back to high school and graduated, and he just got his finance degree. He's married.
No kidding.
Yep. He's been married almost 2 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Is he the first one to get married out of?
He was the first one to get married, and then our oldest son, who's a year older than him, got married a little over a year ago.
Okay.
So 2 married boys.
And the youngest two are,
They're girls.
but they're not still in high school, are they? Or
No, they both, well, one almost has her nursing degree and the other one graduated from college and now is in occupational therapy school.
Okay.
And look at both occupational therapy and nursing. From what we went through, I think they got to see what an impact it makes on someone's life.
Wow.
And so they are just called to do it. They're both so gifted in love and are just made to do what they do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And everybody's tall, right? You,
Yeah,
your
we're all
husband, all four. So if you guys are all going somewhere together, it's not a small vehicle, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I know. Just in church the other day, someone behind us was like, wow, it's like a wall. I can't see anything in front of you guys.
So tell me, when in 2015 when we connected, how long had you been helping people?
Organized. Yeah.
Professional organizer was
Right.
how I always referred to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how long were you doing that then, and how long have you not been doing it?
Well, 2008, I started my company and built a little website on GoDaddy and tried to do SEO so that people could find me in a search. And soon after that, I started speaking so that I could get names on an email list and, get in front of people. So I spoke on the topic of organizing and productivity, and then did that until, I was still doing it up until this year.
Oh,
So 2018, though, I knew I wanted to transition because it's a lot of physical work.
sure.
And a lot of times people that need help call you. So you are hauling tubs and lifting and moving things. And so I knew I didn't want to do that forever. So I got life coach certified through the life coach school.
Okay.
And loved it. And so then I kind of started to transition. I already had an email list. I had clients that I helped. And so I just started offering life coach services online via Zoom and started to grow that side of my business. And then kept doing that, kept kind of organizing with the clients that I had. I didn't really push to get new clients. And then just last year, I was like, I want to be able to focus a little bit more specifically just at home, like working from home. So I stopped working with clients in their homes. And about 2 years ago, I kind of transitioned from just helping general public get organized to helping coaches organize the back end of their business. So their digital organization, their time, their processes and how they do things to be more efficient and optimize that area side of their business so that
Okay.
they can use their gifts in other ways. So that's what I'm doing now.
Just other life coaches or
Coaches or people with similar type businesses.
Okay.
Entrepreneurs, online businesses.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so where did the idea for the podcast come from?
Well, it was the most clear title, the Organized Coach Podcast, because that's what I do. And I wanted it to be really clear.
Right, but just to do one.
Oh, to do a
Yeah,
podcast.
was that all you?
Well, what's interesting, and not many people know this, is my friend and I started a podcast in 2013
Wow.
to 2014. So the whole year of 2014, we had a podcast. And it was framed to us that we were going to have a radio show. And it was because radio stations were going to go digital and they were going to have their own stations. And so this would be like a radio station that's digital. That would be a show.
Okay.
So we actually, I don't know, it's right when podcasts kind of, I feel like,
Sure.
started.
Yeah.
So we had a podcast. It was called Clutter Interrupted. And I was the organizer. She was the clutter-free wannabe person. And so we would kind of play off each other, and we interviewed lots of famous people that in the organizing world. We did solo shows or, with each other shows, and we did lots of fun stuff.
Interviewed people how? What Zoom and stuff like that weren't around back then, were they? Or Skype?
It's funny that you asked that. What was it? Maybe it was Skype.
So it's phone call. You didn't. This is an audio. You're not doing video.
We didn't do video, no.
Okay, so then I guess it doesn't matter. You can, however you can patch them in, you patch
but now
them in.
I'm like, what did we do? I got to think about that.
Skype was always, I think it still functions the same way, but you have a super cool sounding when it's ringing.
Oh yeah, that
Boop, 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 and then,
kind of like dial up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, Peter Walsh was probably our most well known. He did television shows. He was on Oprah. We just called. Somehow we got a phone number. We called him, and he's like, "Sure, I'd love to be on your podcast." And he
and
was.
how did who did all the,
She edited it.
okay, and the equipment came from,
We had 2 microphones that like plug in, and she's kind of a little bit of a techie person where
Okay.
or sound person. She was into making videos and stuff. And so she had a thing that you had to clap and
Oh,
then
funny.
you would record it.
Yeah.
What is that?
the clap?
Well, like, what would you call the piece of equipment that we plugged our microphones into?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, well, she had that.
This thing, I just call it by its brand name, Scarlett. I don't know. It does have a
what was
name.
it back then? But we just held our little microphones.
Okay.
And the sound was amazing. She was
Nice.
super picky, so she had to have it
Yeah.
perfect, and she would edit it all. And then after a year, though, we just didn't have the monetizing part
Right.
in play. So we
Right.
had nothing to sell. We did make an ebook that was $4.
Okay.
That wasn't getting us
Where would you put it? Where would you put episodes?
online on our website.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of where else if we put them out into other places. If people just listened on our website,
I mean,
I don't know.
I
Maybe.
don't know that. I mean, definitely it wasn't then what it is now,
Right.
where you can have a thing and it sends them to all the places.
I mean, imagine if we would have kept going. But we just needed to be able to we had so much fun together. It was such a good experience.
Nice.
But
So you decide you want to launch the
Yes.
Organized Coach
podcast, yeah.
podcast.
Well, and asking why, I think I knew I wanted to, you choose some form of marketing to get your information out and to make offers and have a place to do that and provide content. And so it was either YouTube videos, blog, or podcast, or, and podcast to me, because I spoke a lot, that seemed to be the easier choice of those options. So I did it.
And by yourself,
Yeah.
right? So now you don't have a techie person with the gear and the editing, and
Nope.
it's
Now
all
I
you.
do it on my microphone. I edit it myself using either Audacity or Descript
Okay.
and publish it through. I use Podbean.
Okay.
Publish it through there. Yeah, I do it all.
And it draws in revenue?
Yes, I have gotten clients, coaching
Okay.
clients
Okay.
from it. I also promote like when I'm going to have a free webinar and then people can sign up for the webinar. I also have a funnel that has a free class and then they get in my email list and then an email is sent to them for 7 days. It's hooked up to Deadline Funnel. So they have a limited time to get a discount on Organized Coach Academy, which is my course.
Okay.
So for sure. And I've gotten one-on-one clients from my podcast.
So it
and
brings you business, but it doesn't, it's all by its
Right.
lonesome. It's not.
I'm not doing ads.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're a year and change deep and you're
Love it.
digging it, right?
Yeah, I do like it.
Cool.
As a form of marketing, it's fun. And the episodes I do with guests, you get to connect with them. You
Right.
get to
Right.
meet a new friend. Yeah.
Right.
But the solo episodes, I feel like when I listen to podcasts, do I like the chatty stuff or do I want learn something? So I do like to have solo episodes because I'm really specific in what I teach and
Sure.
talk about that I want to get. I don't know. Be interesting to see what my listeners like more.
And do you, is there a way for you to look
Stats,
in?
yeah. Analytics, yeah.
And is it
I
growing?
mean, I've looked at it. Yeah, it's growing.
Cool.
Yep. I don't know. Globally, it's the top 1.5%, which when you're in the podcast world, everyone that's in podcasts seems to be in the top 5. So if you're in the top 1.5, that seems better. But yeah, it's growing. It's doing good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So you, Minnesota, born and
Minnesota.
raised in Minnesota, right?
Yep.
And your sibling situation is
I
what?
have a brother and a sister.
Brother and a sister. And where are you in the
I'm the second born,
second born? Okay.
but my sister and I would both say that I'm more like a firstborn.
Okay.
Not that that makes any difference. And then our brother was born 12 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And any idea how mom and dad met?
Oh, I think they went to the same little town in Wisconsin, Plum City, Wisconsin. They went to school together. My mom's best friend was my dad's sister. So
Okay.
their families knew each other.
So what did they do? You, in your notes, shared a number of horses and riding and mountains and camping and campfire. What did mom and dad do?
Yeah, my mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
We lived on 6 acres. My dad worked for Burlington Northern in their software department. He was a manager of engineers, I think. And he grew up on a farm, and my mom, they grew up in a small town, so they had a garden. So we had a huge garden. We grew our own food and our raised food. And then we had horses. So we rode horses.
Cool. So you shared a handful of memories, and one of them was coming home in dad's pickup truck with sister. Where was this? Where were you guys coming from? Home from school? Home from just errands? Or
I think maybe errands, because Stillwater, Minnesota is kind of a more well-known place. We lived 20 miles north of that. It's this cute little town. But we were driving up from there. I don't know what we were doing there, but we were singing. Yeah, we were singing Elvira.
or
Or I thought the words was El Fire Up.
they'll fire up. Yeah.
So we were singing at the top of our lungs. We didn't need to wear seatbelts. So we were banging our hands like drums on the dashboard and singing that song. So that's one of my best memories of music, I would say.
Well, so it felt to me reading that that memory was, or those memories were pretty they were accessible. Mm-hmm. Why do you suppose that was?
Well, when you were like, let's talk about music, I thought, there is no way. I'm not a music person. I rarely listen to music. I would rather listen to a podcast. So then I thought, well, what would I even talk about when it comes to music? And I'm like, oh, well, what are my memories of music? That one.
Cool. Well, it's a fun place to start for me. Oak Ridge Boys would be where El Fire Up or Elvira comes from, and this is their Fancy Free album from 1981, which was
Oh my God.
the 41st of 61 that they put out, and they've had 8 bazillion lineup changes. But the whole, I listened to the whole record while wrestling with my mattress and trying to get this cover. It's one of these things that,
the duvet
well, it's Carhartt.
or the mattress cover
It's-
fits all the way around it.
It does. So it's one of these deals. Anna picked it out, and they deliver it to you, take away your old situation, and assemble the new one. So like I
Oh.
went to work one day and came back, and there was a different bed there, and it's all foam. It doesn't have a box spring.
Uh-huh.
This is a little odd, and some might say TMI, but I remember like one of the first times stripping the sheets, there were stains all over it. And I was like, what in the, and so I've only just now come to the conclusion, because they'll give you a window of like 90 days or something, and
Yeah.
you can be like, get it out of here, and they'll come, and which is just, so then does that go to somebody else's house? You know,
You wouldn't think so. Would
well, so, but it really looks as if somebody was delivered breakfast in bed, and the whatever vessel had the coffee
Spilled.
tip. I mean, it's like you take the sheets off, and you're like, "What happened?" Immediately.
My.
So, I was like, you know what? I haven't washed my comforter and my blanket in some time. I'm gonna, and then so every time you take the sheets off, you're reminded, right? And so the whole thing is in a cover, and I was like, I wonder if, and it's super heavy and awkward. But I got it lifted, and there's a zipper that goes all the way around. So
Yep.
I got the thing, and I have to flip it, and I'm like knocking lamps off my nightstands and just sweating because it's so. But point being, I got all the way through this Oak Ridge Boys record while listening to that, and
That's awesome.
I don't have any more information on where these things came from, other than I think we got a mattress that was it originally in somebody else's home. I don't know, but
Now when I sing Elvira, that's what I'll be
well,
thinking about.
so in the early '80s, there was a function in down like Crossroads, Rivermark, somewhere in that, and it was called Possum Trot.
Okay.
And it was like a state fairy kind of carnival, sort of cowboy kind of thing, and my dad loved it. And so we went. You walk around and cotton candy and throw a ball and win a stuffed, all the things except for like rides.
Yeah.
So at first you're like, cool, and then you're like, what?
As a kid,
can
yeah.
we? This is not. But coming to or from that function in a year that we didn't go with him, he came, and there were bands, right? And all, I mean, this thing's huge. And he came across the Oak Ridge Boys with a flat tire on the side of the road.
What?
And he was in a pocket where he had back-to-back full-size vans, like real nice. You could live in them, carpet and stained glass, and this becomes a bed back here, and tables come out, and so he gave the Oak Ridge. That was like his huge claim to fame, was that he gave. Yeah,
Aw, that's awesome.
and so it was fun for me to listen to the whole album, basically, because I mean, who our age-ish doesn't know Elvira or Elvira.
Yeah.
But so I put you to task, if you will, and you what do I music? And this is one of the first things that comes up, because
Yeah.
just joy, I'm guessing, in those rides while you're singing along in the pickup truck. And
Yeah. Because I think I was like, why do I not listen to music? And I'm like, my parents listen to music. Like, my mom was very musical. She played the guitar.
Oh, really?
Her family all sang together around the piano.
Fun.
Like, that was very common for them to do. So they were very music. And my dad's a good singer. So they had music on. I'm like, why don't I listen to music?
They would put, when you guys were little, they would listen. They had to listen to something in the
Probably
home.
more country music.
Okay.
Now I'm like, in the home, did we have music? We had 8-track tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my around that time, that, by the way, Possum Trot was almost the name of our city.
Oh, I do remember hearing that
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the trolley tour of Kansas City.
Okay.
If anyone hasn't been on that,
I
that
have
was
not.
amazing.
I have not.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. We took my live event that was here. We went on the trolley tour,
Cool.
and it was good.
Well, around that time, 80, 81, my folks split, and my mom gets an 81 Toyota Tercel. She went with her sister, and they, my dad moved out, and she moved in with us to help. And they went together. They both bought 81 Toyota Tercels. My aunt's was silver with black interior. My mom's was kind of like this orange or something with tan. And I don't know how much it was. I like to imagine it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $200. My aunt ponied up the extra to have FM radio. My
Oh,
mom did not. So we had literally the station never moved. It was one of these we
yeah.
push out and pull. 71 WHB, all oldies all the time. That's all we ever heard at that time. There was no music listening in the home. Eventually, there would be, but so that's what's happening when I'm with my mom. When I'm with my dad and he's got this full size van, he has a miniature leather briefcase full of 8 tracks.
Oh,
And I know that there was the Muppet movie soundtrack,
oh
and
yeah.
then
The
there was a
Muppets.
Sesame Street one in there, which had like Rubber Ducky and all the fun Sesame. Those were
Yeah.
like for when we were in the car. All of the other 8 tracks, Oak Ridge Boys and John Denver.
Yes, John Denver was
Right.
my other one.
Yes, but
Yeah.
that was a love of mom's,
But
right?
yes. Well, I think we all liked it, but it definitely was her favorite. Aw.
So let's see here. Country
This is so
Roads,
fun. Yeah, Country Roads for sure.
originally released as a single, and then comes out in like '71 as part of Poems, Prayers, and Promises. But like I said, my dad had a bunch, but this was always the go-to because it has
Greatest
it.
hits.
I mean, yeah. So he has 26 studio albums. This greatest hits collection is 11 songs, 40 minutes long. So we're 2 of 2 on favorites of my dad. But what do you suppose? What was your mom? Why was your mom drawn to John Denver? Do you reckon just because you're kind of already in that country kind of vein, or
Probably.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. That'd be so fun to ask her.
yeah? I was finishing school in Colorado in winter coming into spring of '98. And I was with sitting in this classroom, and the professor is saying, if you all should have this thing done that I told you guys about, and all of the words, I was like, what? And I nudged the dude next to me, and I'm like, what is? And he's like, oh, all of this came to us via email. And I was like, what? Email? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, how are we supposed to get email? He's like, every student here at the college has an email. You just have to go in there. And I was like, how did you know that? Anyway, so I had all this catching up to do. But we ended up talking after class, and then sat next to each other in those same seats for the rest of the semester. And like 2 or 3 classes later, I said something about John Denver and my dad. And do you know who this kid was? His freaking son.
What?
I
No
swear
way.
to God. I swear to God. Zach Denver. And he is not Caucasian. So when he said that, he had ways to prove that his last name was in fact Denver.
Yeah.
And I mean, getting ready for this made me remember or think of him, and so I Googled him, and sure enough, it's totally him.
Oh.
So he and his first wife adopted 2 kids, and then I believe they're both married. I think his daughter and family live in like New Zealand or something, but I think Zach is still. And anyway, it was so weird that I remember the look, whatever the thing was that I
He's like,
shared.
my
He's like,
secret's out.
I had no idea,
Yeah.
but because I shared this memory, he was like, it's my dad. I'm like, what are you talking about? Come on. But really, it really was.
Man, you have these famous connections
Well,
to both of these.
I mean,
Who's going to be next?
that's where it ends. So let's see here. Okay, this is my stab in the dark.
Okay.
Gino Vanelli. Do you know this name? Mm-mm. Okay, I might not be right here, but this is my guess at your Appaloosa song. It's from a record called Brother to Brother. Came out in 1978, and he on that
Oh, man. What are the words?
same. Okay.
Because I feel like, well, maybe it's, I looked it up one time a while back and it was like, maybe it was from a movie that I saw it. So it was like cowboy movie, but I didn't look up who sang it or anything.
Okay. Well, if this is correct,
Yeah.
Appaloosa is the lead track. The third track is his biggest hit, and it's called "I Just Want to Stop." I just want to stop. I mean, it was everywhere in the 80s. Like, you totally would recognize it.
Oh my gosh. So I didn't, but nobody I know has ever heard of this song. It's is it like if you say the words, I would know if it's the right one.
Well, it's a little aggressive, not in like a hard rock or a heavy metal, but the things are it's loud a little bit.
This was like he's riding on a horse called Appaloosa, the kind of
Running wild in the dead of the night, Appaloosa, you're the message of love and light. They grow wild in the plains of my mind.
Is that the chorus? We only knew the chorus.
Oh, okay. Appaloosa, 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 running wild in the wake of the dawn. Appaloosa,
No.
you're the spirit that turns me on.
No.
Dang it.
Oh.
Well, that was my best guess.
Oh, that's good though. I'll have to listen to that one.
It's not great, but you should. It's not bad, but it's not. But you should definitely
Listen to his other one?
I Just Want to Stop. And
Yeah.
if you were anywhere around a stereo in the 1980s, you'll be like,
Yes.
"Oh yeah, I know this song."
Yeah.
So
No, the words were Appaloosa, Appaloosa, riding with your head held high. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, proudest horse a man could ever ride. Because Appaloosa is the type of horses we had.
no kidding.
Yeah. So somehow we had that song. We would ride. I just remember inviting Diane and her and my sister and I laid up on top of this camper, the bed that goes over the truck.
Drivers, yeah, okay, yeah.
And we would watch out. We were driving up the mountains just singing that song at least 100 times.
My gosh.
And then we do rounds of it. But all we knew was the chorus.
Nice. Do you still ride?
I mean, no.
No.
I mean, I could. If
could.
I had a horse.
Have your
but-
kids?
We would go to my dad's, and he just sold his horse this last year, but they would always, every time we went. But he lived in El Paso and then Houston, so we go there like once a year.
Sure.
So, and the kids would ride, but no, they don't ride. None of them have horses.
Huh. I saw a clip recently, and it just blew my mind. But so somebody's filming like into this field, and there's a guy on horseback, and then there's a horse near him that doesn't have a rider, and he has supposedly the cremated remains of that horse's rider.
Aw.
And so he's backing his horse up and
Aw.
dumping them.
Yeah.
And the horse like knows and just starts doing these crazy loops around the area that he
Aw.
and that's what the caption is like, horse totally know. And I was like, what? I mean,
Wow.
but you do see the occasional story like that where a horse and a dog that knew each other
Yes,
are
mhm.
reunited, and but so started at a young age, right?
Yes, yeah. We moved there when I was 2, and to our 6 acres, and then had horses ever since. And we showed our horses in horse shows, and then we would camp We would all drive, and we had a horse club, and all of us would meet at this campground and go on trail rides at the campground. And yeah, that was my childhood. And the times we weren't doing that, we were going to horse shows. So we would load our horses up. We participated in 4-H, so we showed our horses in the 4-H show, among like submitting my agate rock collection and submitting my peanut butter Rice Krispie bars, which did pretty good.
Nice. I've also seen quite a few. I've got like pockets of where I'm like watching TikTok a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then I won't, and then I'll be back in. But when I've been in those pockets, I have come across. It's got the sharpest algorithm. Like it knows what to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've seen so many videos of. I don't even know what you call it. Blacks. I don't.
Shoeing horses.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're removing
The grime and dirt in it.
But it's,
Or more like an abscess they're taking out, or more just like cleaning their hooves.
cleaning. But I mean, they're they take the shoes off.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just an insane amount of
Growth?
debris, but it scrapes away.
Yeah.
And the horse is just standing with the 1 foot in the person's lap. I mean, did that?
My dad, he shod our horses, all of our horses.
And so I, have across almost 50 years on this planet given about 2 seconds thought to shoeing horses. I just figured you put them on and then
and then they grow out, and then you have to take them off and put new ones on.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother them to have these things, or so you would think.
Right. I think it protects their feet, like from gravel getting in them, especially if you're in rough places or you're on cement. Maybe, I don't even know.
Well, it could be growth, but the stuff scrapes away.
Well, that could just be dirt.
But it's a lot. I mean, anyway.
Yeah.
They're
I
out
have
there.
to look that up.
Yeah. So, Appaloosa, your Appaloosa, the chorus of it came to you guys how?
I actually have no idea.
Okay.
I'll have to ask my parents that question
But
too.
you knew that chorus.
Yeah. We would sing that song.
That's awesome. So now we leap into more recent times, all the way to 2007 with Britt Nicole's "Say It."
Yes.
This is second of 5 for her, 11 tracks, 40 minutes. A singer-songwriter from North Carolina who has mainly charted in Christian pop. You mentioned that this was a gift from your brother-in-law for your birthday, and it turned out to be a family favorite in the car. You called the gift random, but there must have been a reason he chose it for you, right?
Right, but I mean, I don't think he's ever given me a gift.
So,
and then one year, I just get this CD.
Is this husband's brother?
Yeah, husband's brother.
Okay. 1 year?
Yes, and he just gives us this gift. And I'm like, oh, cool. So we play it in our minivan because I had 4 kids. Minivans were super popular.
Yeah, they still are.
Play that. Oh, yeah, for anyone driving a minivan.
Well,
they're
but
the
I mean,
best.
For folks with
kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. Loved it. But yes, we would play this CD. We've moved to CDs from 8 tracks. But yeah, we'd play the CD in the van, and all of us would sing to this song. Sing to these songs.
Pretty darn decent. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never heard of her. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But I figured I would be like, next. But I kept it on till deep, and 10 or 11 tracks in, I was like, okay, that's probably enough.
Yeah. That's funny though that you have to listen to all these.
I don't have to, but
I know,
certainly
but
makes it more.
There's lots of different styles that I wouldn't want to listen to some.
Oh, those are plenty and often, and I have to have this face across from them and be like, that was so good. And sometimes the guests, Robert, he just had one we talked about a lot of other things, but we just
Right.
talked about the one record. Most folks give me a list of 5, and oftentimes, sometimes people have a range,
Right.
and sometimes not.
It's yeah.
And so, this is I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but the go-to example is, 5 straight records of throaty scream metal is
Oh.
not necessarily
Yeah.
how I would choose to spend time listening to music, but I gotta know something,
Right.
So when it's brand new, it's there's almost
Yeah,
always
then
an
it's kinda
element of joy.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're swapping messages, right? And I think that you just one day there you were in People You Might Know on Facebook, and I was like, wow. And so eventually I messaged you, and you declined. And I was like, and this is it makes perfect sense. This is a lot of pieces about this whole thing have shifted and pivoted. Lots of folks have that response.
Right. I figured maybe.
In that, I think the feeling is we're gonna like compare wits and knowledge and some kind of competitive something or other. But it's not that. It's really I'm January of 21 was when I was like, I am spending an insane amount of time every week, not just consuming podcasts, watching them.
Yeah.
Now I'm never still. It's always like I'm making smoothies or folding laundry or doing something. So, it doesn't feel like I'm losing time.
Right.
But at some point, I was like, and I'm current with all of them, right? At that time. And at some point I was like, you know what? Like instead of this, I could do something productive with that time. And I was like, I bet I could do this. So it took a year basically to have the space ready and to get all the stuff and then to learn how to use it. And COVID is barely and shutdown is barely in the rear view. And we go into that whole thing sort of already in this world where we don't have to really interact with people at all. Like I can just and
Yeah.
tonight's dinner, the dog, whatever, can just be dropped on my porch, and you're not out in the world interacting with people, and so the want is in person, real, one-on-one conversation, and I want to know about the person.
Right.
But who's going to be like, yeah, I'll come on a podcast and talk about myself, right? So I was like, I've always loved music. It's always been a part of my life, and I was like, well, that's kind of the one. Not everybody's, into movies, and not everybody's into sports, so it felt like a very natural
Common denominator.
Yes.
Connection. Yeah.
People like we can, and still some people are like, no, that's not for me. But you sent me a very kind, thoughtful decline. I don't listen to music, and gosh, if anything, I only listen to Lauren Daigle and so on and so forth. And so I sent you my
Yeah. Very long.
yeah.
It was good though.
Thanks. And here you are. So you tell me all these things, El Fire Up and Appaloosa and John Denver and its own separate line at the bottom was a 3-word sentence that just struck me. And it was, then Lauren Daigle. And it felt like she's, for lack of a better word, important.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It just it stood out, and I was excited to to check out all the things, but I was also really excited to check out her because it felt like it was coming from a place. So she has 4 albums. How Can It Be from 2015, Behold, A Christmas Collection 2016, which we will listen to Trimming the Tree this year, I can guarantee you that. Look Up Child from 2018, and then Self-Titled from 2023. So tell me your discovery story of her,
Yeah. And I've written about this because, and it was this 2015 album. So was that her very first one?
How Can It Be?
So Trust in You was the song, and that song became my anthem. You know, in your relationship with the Lord, it goes in times where you're really on fire, and then it goes in times where, And so I was kind of in a time where, and then I heard that song, and I just remember, I loved it. It was so good, and it kind of became my anthem. And that, in addition to a book that I had found on my bookshelf. Oh gosh, let me try to think of the name of it. But reading that and then listening to that song just was so sweet. And it was such a sweet time in my walk with the Lord. And then in January, my son got in his accident. So I feel like that
months after this is out,
yeah,
basically.
Yeah. And I feel like it had such a message for me in it. And so I just love, and her voice, I mean, I feel like her voice is amazing.
Have you ever listened to Adele?
Yeah.
She's got
kind of similar, like a really strong,
which is, I'm not, no knock on either one of them.
Right.
But and then she also does, have you listened to any Olivia Rodrigo?
Mm-mm.
You know who she is?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. She is, she's very young. She just put out her second album.
Oh.
She recorded a song called Driver License. And it was ultimately like the saddest breakup song you could possibly imagine. But she wrote it and recorded it as a junior in high school. And then it blew so up that when first semester of senior year starts, she moves out of her parents' house because she has a band and they need a place to record and live and all their stuff and gear and you know, so she puts out this record and it just went bonkers.
Wow.
But she has this interesting way of curling, like, not all of them, but the occasional final consonant of a word. It kind of does this twist, and it's fascinating. And Lauren does it too from time to time.
Yeah.
But what was the song you mentioned?
Trust in You.
She's got, in listening to her stuff, there was, I mean, her voice is beautiful. The song writing is fantastic. The song structure is great. But there's messages in there. And there was one in particular that really stuck with me. And it was, it's something along the lines of, telling me that I was found when I felt lost and that I mattered when I didn't feel like I did and seen when I didn't feel seen. Just really cool stuff. And she seems like she's a lot of fun too, right?
She is so fun.
Have you...
As if I know, but I've been to 2 of her concerts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And when were they and what were the venues?
Well, one was... here, I'm trying to think of where, maybe Sprint Center.
Okay.
Now what's it called? T-Mobile Center?
Yeah.
And then the other one, in this one I went, my son gave me tickets. So I took one of my daughters And then the first one, I went with two of my really good friends.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think what venue. Maybe the same.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I can't even remember.
So that first record and that track in particular resonated with you because of the time, what your walk with the Lord looked like at that time.
Right.
But how does she wind in your lap in the first place?
Maybe just on the radio.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe on Christian radio station.
Okay.
Maybe a friend sent it to me. Because I have
Sure.
some friends who really love music.
Sure.
So maybe that's why.
Now,
Yeah, I don't know that for sure.
excuse me, in part of your, in our correspondence, you said hardly ever go see shows.
Right.
But you've seen her twice. Any others, like going all the way back to a first or an early memory or anything recent-ish?
Well, we go to Winterfest, which is the Christian concert here that has a bunch of different Christian singers.
Okay.
So we've been to that a couple times, maybe 3 times with my kids. What other concert? Oh, yes. In college, I went to Garth Brooks.
Oh, really?
4th row of
Wow.
his huge I live near Dallas, so it was a huge concert. Yes, that was really good. So I loved him too.
Okay.
I forgot all about that. I didn't list him.
What about nothing when you were young? Your parents take you to anything or you go to anything with
Oh.
friends?
No.
No.
I don't know.
So you're...
Did they do concerts back then?
You said you moved to the six acres in Minnesota when you were 2?
Yes. And then when I was 14, we moved to El Paso, Texas.
Okay. Where were you prior to 2?
Just a town nearby.
Elsewhere in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 30 minutes away.
So what takes everybody from Minnesota to Texas?
Well, I think my dad just said he was sick of snow plowing our long
I
driveway
bet.
and the cold. And so his company could transfer either to El Paso or to Fort Worth. So he didn't want the humidity of Fort Worth. So he chose El Paso.
There's that much climate fluctuation in Texas?
Oh, yeah. El
Really?
Paso's a desert. It's way on it's 9 hours.
It's by the
from-
border.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's the very left little corner. But yeah, then we moved to El Paso. So it was a big culture shock and a change. It was my freshman year in high school
Oh, dang.
before we moved there. But it was good. I loved it. We joined volleyball before school started, so we made some friends.
Cool.
Met my 2 best friends from high school. And
Did you have friends you were sad to leave behind in Minnesota?
I had one that had been my best friend for a long time. So we wrote tons of letters to each other.
Do you still have them?
Ooh, I don't know. Probably. But we would decorate the envelopes like right all over the whole entire envelope would be covered, kind of like graffiti.
Oh,
We'd send those back and forth to each other, but it was good. I loved where we lived. We went to a smaller school, like we were tall, so we played basketball and
oh, nice.
it was
Yeah.
good and ran track and
And then you end up choosing an in-state school for college.
yeah, I went 2 years to UTEP, University of Texas at El Paso, and then transferred to North Texas and graduated from University of North Texas. So that's where I was when I saw Garth Brooks. So we would go country dancing. So I guess I did probably listen to country music there and go out on.
Now, when you're at UTEP, are you close to mom and dad? Are you
Yeah, I
shooting home
still
for
lived at
weekends
home.
still lived at home?
Yeah.
And then the transfer because
We just wanted to experience college.
get away.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
what's the drive to get
9
home?
hours straight east from El Paso.
Wow. You're not coming home for the weekend. 9
No,
hours
we didn't.
away.
No, I never went home again. We stayed there for the summer.
No kidding.
Went to school. I just had 2 years left, so one summer there.
You say we.
Well, then I know I said we. I moved there, and then when so my sister had went her first year of college there, because my stepsister had went to school there. So we knew of that school. So she went there, and then she came home, and then my junior year of college, I transferred there, and then my senior year, my sister transferred back.
Fun.
So we lived together.
Oh, cool.
Actually, it was the summer after my senior year. So I was saying we never moved back home to El Paso.
Okay. And then what brings you ultimately to Kansas City?
Yeah. So I graduated from college and I got a job. I was a headhunter for pharmacists that worked in hospitals, a recruiter, and worked in this small office. And this other girl started working there. There was only 4 of us in the whole office, and she started working. We just became best friends.
Cool.
It was so fun. She was so different. And so she said, "Hey, I'm moving back home." My parents lived in California. So she's like, "I'm moving back home for the summer." And then, because her industry wasn't hiring, they had a freeze on hiring. So she said, "You want to move back with me?" And I was like, "Wow, that sounds fun."
To California?
Yeah. So I moved. We just both quit our job, which our boss was not happy. And I always thought, I'm coming back. I'm just going to go for the summer. And then we moved to California, lived with her family. And a lady there, one of their best friends, discipled me. She asked me if I wanted to be discipled when we were over at her house one day. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. But she was so fun. And so I was like, sure. So we started going through this discipleship book, and the first chapter was just like, God loves you, like you said in that song. He sees you, he wants a relationship with you, and it just all made sense. And I wanted that, and I gave my life to the Lord then, and started a relationship with him, and just knew it was so funny. I knew I was supposed to work with kids. I don't think I ever had that thought before then. So I reached out to one of the girls in the office's brother, lived in Kansas City and had a ministry through the Salvation Army. And I was like, oh, maybe he knows some people in Dallas. So I was going to get contacts. Well, she said, nobody is hiring a girls program director in Kansas City. So I reached out to him. I flew to Kansas City for an interview and knew I was going to work there. I didn't even know I hadn't got to the evangelism chapter of our discipleship book yet. So I didn't even know much, but I moved to Kansas City. And then
That's when you talk to others.
yeah, when
and
you share
say,
your faith and you invite them to, tell them about the gospel. And so we moved, and oh my gosh, it was the best experience of my life. Like I was thinking of this. I got a U-Haul, hooked my car up to a trailer behind it, and drove myself from Dallas or Denton to Kansas City.
Wait, so you California, and then you do
And then
come
I
back
came
to Texas.
back. Yep, I came back.
Mom and dad in El Paso?
Yep.
Okay.
Stop at their house on the way, and then get to Denton, pack up, and then move to Kansas City.
Not knowing hardly anybody.
Yeah, knowing nobody.
Wow. Okay.
And then my boss had a girl that had kind of worked for him for the summer. So she needed a roommate. So I roomed with her. We got an apartment. And the other guy that he hired was also from Texas and was also a new believer. So the 3 of us, he did an in-depth Bible study with us. And there was another girl that worked in the Salvation Army that kind of partnered with me, and so we did ministry together. We worked with inner city kids in Kansas City in the Westport area, and it was great.
And you did that for how long?
From 93 until 99.
Okay.
And then I had my first baby in 98. So then the lady in California that discipled me and the lady I lived with, my summer mom, they both were involved in a Bible study there called Bible Study Fellowship, which in Kansas City, they had a young adult Bible study fellowship, just single young adults from 18 to 35. They don't have it here anymore. But that's where I met my husband.
Okay.
So we met and then had a baby. And then after I had my first baby, I wanted to stay home. So then I quit working after that.
So your folks, what kind of faith were they bringing to the table when they were raising you and your siblings?
We grew up Catholic.
Okay.
I wouldn't say not dedicated. Like, we went to church. We were confirmed in the Catholic Church. But because we had horses and sports, sometimes that, we were gone a lot on the weekends. And then they got divorced when I was a junior.
Your parents?
My parents did.
In high school?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We moved to El Paso, and then 2 years later, they got divorced.
Oh.
And then they kind of when my dad started going to a Lutheran church because he knew his best friends from Wisconsin had a brother that was a pastor at this church. And then he kind of let us decide if we wanted to go to church or not. And I didn't. So all through college, I never went anywhere.
Sure.
Until toward the end, I started thinking, is this what life's about? I mean, we literally just do whatever we want to do and get good grades and get a job, and then that's it.
Right.
So I think that I was to the point where I could hear it and make a decision.
So you and your husband met at this adult
Bible study.
Okay.
Well, I mean, to be honest, we saw each other there. We were both regular attenders. He was a leader. And then a bunch of the people would get together and meet up different places. And so we actually met at a country bar. So we can say we met at a bar.
Sure.
Or we can say we met through a Bible study.
Whichever fits the
Whatever fits the occasion.
Now, when you guys decide we want to spend our lives together and have kids, I'm imagining there's some level of intention and mindfulness in raising your kids with faith too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now you're empty nesters, right?
Well, our girls are still at home,
Okay,
actually.
okay.
And actually, this morning, they just left for a mission trip.
Oh,
They're serving the Lord. They love the Lord. And they...
both girls.
Yes.
Okay.
One of them had a little hard spell in there. But she's back, and she is just...
Meaning, like, I don't think this is for me, Mom.
Meaning more other distractions around, and yes, maybe that, but maybe not that as much as just not now. I feel like
Fair.
I do believe, but I don't want to deal with that now.
Sure.
I'd rather do this other stuff.
Sure. What about the boys?
The boys, kind of the same thing. Like one of them, more of a stronger faith in his life. One of them more like not all right now.
Okay.
But they'll come to church. Like that's when we form a wall in our row because there'll be 10 of us in a row at church. So it'll be very full.
Right.
But yeah, so they're good. I think they would all say they believe, and some stronger walk than others.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, what's your husband's name?
Chad.
Chad. I'm sure that there are Chad and Tracy's elsewhere, like in abundance, that however they meet, you know, obviously nobody's story is the same, but arriving at this place where we want to start a family and we want faith to be significant, have a significant presence. Not everybody's going to go 4 for 4 in terms of having kids that are, you know,
100%.
grown adults, and however it looks for each of them individually, it's still there, right? Did you guys ever like talk to one another about like what that would feel like, what you would do if somebody was like, one of your kids was like, absolutely not, never, don't ever,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's for me, the beauty of coming to know the Lord at a little bit older of an age, because I see that God writes each of our stories and he writes them all different. And I think that's how I viewed my daughter when she made choices that I didn't agree with or that hurt me. God's writing her story. And it's not going to look like what I expected it to look like. And it's not going to look like maybe what I want it to look like and the easy way for it to look like for me. But that's the thought that I come back to a lot, is like, he's going to write their story, and whatever that looks like, it's his story to write.
Sure.
And I think that's that book. And now I thought of it. It's The Sacred Romance.
Oh, there you go.
I loved that book. And it kind of talks about how he weaves it all together. So I know, but it's hard. It's hard watching your kids especially go through things, challenges, choices. I mean, people, and I don't really think it has much to do. I mean, I don't know, with parenting, because you could be the best parent in the world and your kids could still make choices that you wish they wouldn't.
Right.
So,
Before I forget, that whole Olivia Rodrigo record, Sour,
oh,
very, very amazing. I mean, and it's, you know, real breakup heavy, the whole thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's mind blowing to me that a 16 or 17-year-old could experience that, let alone articulate it. There is some profanity. So
yeah.
I'm just throwing that up. Now, the podcast, Organized Coach podcast, does the role that faith has played in your life do those streams ever cross?
Not really. My business is not a faith-centered business. I mean, faith, I don't know. It's not, I kind of keep those separate,
Sure.
but I do, but then again, I don't. I mean, I talk about it. I have an Organized Life Academy and an Organized Coach Academy. So my Life Academy, a lot of those women that are in there have been in there this is the 4th year I've been doing that. And that's just regular organizing our life in our home, and then coaches for business. But they know, I mean, I'll say things because faith is part of who I am, but I'm not like pushing it.
Sure.
I don't talk about it all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you, not necessarily in your work path, but anywhere in your walking life, do you ever come across friction from folks that, hey, I don't want you to talk to me about that, or something that?
I mean, yes. I guess if I was bolder and I talked about it all the time, maybe I'd come across that more often. I think there's friction in the world right now for
Oh my
sure.
gosh.
100%
Yeah.
against Christianity, which we're not surprised. I mean, the Bible tells us that's going to happen. So I'm always shocked when people are just like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm like, it says it right there. It's going to happen. So,
And probably not just once.
yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm too a little bit more on like, I love you no matter what. I was lost. I was made choices. I did lots of things that people could have looked at me and judged me. But I think that's what was so attracting that Kimberly did. She was just so loving and so friendly. And so she would ask questions.
California?
Yeah, the
Okay.
girl I moved to California with, and her whole family. And they were just so loving that I was like, that's what was different. They're not sitting there judging me or my answers to questions that they're probably like, oh, what in the world? Where'd she get that from?
Texas girl is something else.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you, I'm still in touch?
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Well, this is so much fun. I usually hammer the guests with 5 goofy questions, and then we'll wrap and get you out of here.
Okay, but I do have to say, my husband is a music person.
Okay.
And he is really into music. Like, he knows a lot about music.
You
so
said that you
we
play
always play those games,
Yeah.
like name that tune. My daughter, my youngest daughter, is so into music as well. She knows genres. I mean, she likes everything, a little bit from everything.
Cool.
So it's kind of cool seeing that in someone. I'm always a little jealous. I think if I could sing better, I would be more of a
Aw,
music person.
I bet you have a nice voice. You have a nice speaking voice.
Yeah. Maybe I should take lessons and practice so I feel good. But I mean, if it just came out naturally, like some people can sing, I think I probably would like music. But it seems hard. So anyway, but I do love that my husband brings that to our family, that he's the music person.
Now, how did that come to be part of his fabric, do you imagine?
Oh, his mom always sang in the choir.
Okay.
He played in the band. He was in the band in high school.
Does he
And then he just liked music.
have a collection at all, or
No.
no? Nothing. There's some CDs maybe from
Yeah,
days gone by.
in the garage now,
Yeah.
a little packet that I'm like, what are you going to do with this?
Well, do you my vehicle still has a player. probably the last one I'll have.
I wonder if his does. Mine does not.
Doesn't. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were, for whatever reason, one day driving down the road and you felt like listening to something, you would just stream it
Look
through
it
your...
up on YouTube or Spotify but all my kids have paid music apps. I don't because I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
listen to it enough.
Yes.
But they all listen to music a lot.
But I mean, you could
Oh, totally.
listen to something in your car, like
yeah,
Bluetooth.
I do all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm listening to
I'm
something.
so glad you said that. Your Spotify playlist that, what's the word you used?
Oh, that was very ministering
Ministry,
to me.
yes.
Is that what it
Yes.
was? And that's on my, it's back when we bought music on Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's on. So if I ever want to listen to something that I don't have to listen to ads or, find it somewhere, I'll just go on my playlist and I have like 15 songs.
That you curated this playlist.
Yes. And a girl from our church also was in the hospital. Her husband had a motorcycle accident.
Jeez.
She was in a different hospital. And he was in a coma for a long time. And somehow we connected. We were texting with each other. And she was giving me some songs that had been, that she'd loved, and played all the time in the hospital. And so some of those are from her.
Okay. And
Just Be Held by Casting Crowns. All-time amazing song ever.
And the ones that aren't from her, they came from you. Right?
Yeah, or someone would recommend them, or my friend would send to me. There are some fun ones, like one of my favorites is, oh gosh, from Zootopia. The movie, where is it? Try Everything by Shakira.
Okay.
I love that song. And there's some really weird ones. I have no idea where I found them, but that are on here. So... there's some fun ones on here, but it's funny. I was just walking the other day and I was like, I'm kind of sick of podcasts. So I turned this playlist on and it was so inspiring. I think because it had such a special time in my life too.
I mean, I can't really imagine any of the pieces to what you all went through. Just this past school year, there's a Starbucks, probably not even a 2-minute drive from here, just over in Brookside. My daughter and some of her pals started hitting that up on bikes before school.
Oh, it's that, I know what the shape of it's really long, that Starbucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then all summer, she's gone Monday through Thursday to a fitness camp at St. Teresa's on bike. And I'm just like, nobody, literally zero people, I often speak in hyperbole, are paying attention behind the wheel these days. Everyone's distracted. Nobody's paying any attention. And you, my friend, are also, as observant as she is,
right.
So you gotta really make sure that you're of the mindset that nobody sees you. Everything you double, and you gotta, I want to text when you get to Starbucks. I want to text when you're leaving Starbucks. I want to text when you get to school.
And you're one of those dads.
Well, I'm terrified that, something's gonna, I don't know. We struggle with that a little bit, and then same with the fitness camp, because she would bike to a buddy's house where they're all congregating, and then they bike to St. Teresa's, and just if I don't have Anna's got all the thing.
Oh,
it's set up through her, so she can track their location, but I can't.
Oh, you should get that. I bet you'd feel a lot better.
I for sure would, and she wouldn't have to do any of those things.
Yeah.
But, she's just so bold and sharp and sweet, but also, has a pretty limited knowledge base for all the things that are going on in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's I don't want to scare you, but I also want you to keep your head on a swivel. And I mean,
See what's going on around
yeah,
you.
and especially, there's a couple spots where you're not just, it's not side streets. There's
Yeah.
a lot of traffic and a lot of,
Yeah.
so anyway, point being, I can't really wrap my head around, even thinking back to when it was going on and I was seeing the stuff on the Facebook page. Uh, you know, I can only imagine that I would go insane.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think, and that's where that thought or the belief that comes back in, like God's writing their story and he's also going to walk with you through all of it. And he's going to show up in people's lives. I think that was the biggest thing. People's lives, people are just beautiful. Like they showed up and supported us in so many ways. And we have a huge community too, because we had 4 kids and they were involved in a lot of stuff. And we were in a church and we had a high school that we were involved in and activities. But it was just the most amazing thing to have the opportunity for people to show up in that way and to be able to witness it was so beautiful.
That's
So
cool.
if something happens, you just have opportunities like that
It's a great mindset.
you might not have had before.
Right. Okay. So you get to have lunch with anyone dead or alive you're choosing. Who are you choosing and why?
Oh gosh, these kind of questions make me think, oh. I mean, okay, I'll just say Jesus.
Okay.
Why? So I can ask him why. Why did he do what he did? Why did they put people here, have all this pain to go through? Why? That'd be my
I
question.
love it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that at one time there was a show on television called Fear Factor?
Yes.
Do you remember what it was about?
Mm-hmm.
It's reality TV-ish where you got to do things that give you the heebie-jeebies or creep you out or whatever. What's the absolute worst Fear Factor challenge for Tracy Hoth?
Oh, to be up high, so I have a fear of heights, with slimy animals
Ew.
would be,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't care for that combo at all. You're given the ability to visit your past self at any age you're choosing. What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
Oh, that's such a sweet question because I do a lot of future self, past self kind of work.
Oh, wow.
And what were we just watching? Oh, the gymnast. The Olympics are going on when we're recording this, and the gymnast, Fred Flip, was talking about what he would say to his little future past self. Now he's in the Olympics. It's like, hang on, like anything's possible.
So that's the message.
That's what I would say, I think. But what age? Oh gosh, this memory of kindergarten. When I was like stuck in the bathroom because I couldn't, like something was caught on my zipper or something, and I was so scared. I just remember being so scared. I'd tell her.
It's going to be fine.
Yes, it's going to be amazing.
So, if we can pretend or imagine that we all have a personal and a professional bucket list. Let's say you're given all the necessary resources to hammer out your number one on both of those lists. What would they be?
Oh my. Well, this would be a dream, but I don't know that it's a goal of mine. But I guess for my business to reach 1 million, like that would be unbelievable
1 million.
in revenue.
Okay.
Yeah. And then personal. I mean, I guess I don't know the place, but I love, since my father-in-law passed away, my mother-in-law got an idea from her sister-in-law that she rents Airbnbs and we go there. So we all went to an Airbnb. I think it's just continuing to travel with our whole family. Like all my kids are married with grandkids and we all go on a trip to a place and hang out.
Cool. I love that. My next door neighbor on the not the fence side, they have 3 girls. Oldest is going into 6th grade, and the youngest is maybe going to do her first year of ECLC, preschool. And when she was born, they asked me to be her godfather.
Oh,
And they have each done. They have a business together. They've each done an episode, and when I asked her that, I said, I know your youngest is still like, fresh into the so you're long way away from
right.
being an empty nester. But what do you think? Having raised 3 girls so kind of close together in age and everything that entails, what do you think you guys will do when you are empty nesters? And she, no hesitation, said, probably spend all of my time and energy trying to convince them to come hang out with me at home. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. Please complete this for me. The world would immediately become a better place in which to live if only...
People would be more understanding.
I like that. That's good. So simplysquaredaway.com is the website.
Right.
You got an Instagram, you got a Facebook. The Organized Coach podcast is on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. It drops weekly. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wished we had?
No, I think we got it. We didn't even talk about organizing, but I do have to brag on you. Your organized spaces look really good.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Gave me a little tour.
I kept you away from the areas where the... no, we actually... going into the holidays... So when you came, it was... they shared... 2 stories straight above us, basically. That room, and the other room was a guest room. And then not too long after that, we moved them into the guest room with and got a bunk bed set. And then this front room became the new guest room. A few years ago, we moved him out of her room and into the guest room so that they have their own rooms.
Right.
And then going into the holidays this year, she was given a lot of energy to, I want to redo my room.
Ooh.
Repaint, redecorate, lose the top bunk, bring a vanity. And she's got like 1,000 things of skincare.
So fun.
And so I was like, that desk that's in the living room just holds my piles, which I still have because I thwarted your efforts to teach. We could bring that could be a real good homework spot for you. And so she got, I got her the vanity for her birthday, and then my stepmom got her paint. And then, she wants to, if she sees 15 minutes, can we work? And it's like, no, dude, we need an outline. We need a plan. We need to know what's going to go where. We need to pick out artwork. And so Anna and our son ended up going on this mom-son float trip for a weekend just a couple weeks ago. And I was like, when I saw that on the calendar, I was like, we're tackling the room. So they left town at 2:00 on a Friday, and we started pulling furniture and get artwork down and spackling, and then we painted.
The worst part, spackling.
What's funny is that I got it mixed and ready to go and did one or two. She was like, can I do that? I was like, I don't know. She's like, I know how to do it. I helped them do it. And when they were moving the girls' room, I was like, okay. And then she did. She knew exactly what she was doing. And I could tell, even with her back, not facing me, I could tell. And she finally turned and looked at me. She's like, I love this. I was like, you're such a geek.
That's awesome.
But we put in like 10 hours. And the next day we put in a few more, and then Sunday morning we were pulling off tape and pulling up drop cloths and moving furniture back in, and brought the desk up from the living room, which meant that
you had to deal with.
Well, I just moved the piles.
Yeah, I didn't see any piles.
Well, that's because I didn't take in there. But there's also, a whole bunch of stuff wound up being purged. So all that stuff is staged and ready to go to be donated. And when that happens,
that's always nice.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'll have nothing left but my piles.
Piles, yeah.
Which are teeny tiny versions of what they once were.
Yeah.
So we'll get there eventually. But
good job.
So thank you very much. Hope that you continue to have success with the business and the podcast continues to be fun. I always think of something like that in terms of the joy and chore scales,
for sure,
and how it's always so important to make sure that joy is the heavier one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just video makes it a lot of work. Yeah. I mean, I've manually got a cut from my camera to your camera.
Oh my.
Which what people are like, there's AI software that will do that for you. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, eventually, when you're ready, you'll want to do that. I guess.
Maybe, but it's also. I don't want it to just only be on you when you're talking, and I like to mix it up a little bit and get one of us says something that makes the other laugh, or the other makes a funny face, or is showing something or whatever. Like,
yes,
but it's really fun, and I'm so thankful that my second pitch
convinced me.
Yeah.
No, it really got me thinking. So this was good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Great to see you. Gosh, it's almost 10 years.
I know.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thanks.